Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons, we've got new heroes to check out. The mages look sick. We've got new info about the new season where you combine artifacts, and I think we'll start there. So in the new season, you can bring 2 artifacts per army, kind of. It sounds like there's this artifact variant, and you can make several of them. It looks like there's assault artifacts, control artifacts, overall artifacts, maybe engineering artifacts as a combination. And it looks like it's going to cost you some amount of your currency that goes toward policies here. So there's going to be, and not even that far into the season, that's not going to matter. But at the start of the season, that could be a meaningful cost. But, after the first fight, it's kind of like, whatever. You'll have plenty of that, presumably. I guess it depends on what the policies are. Now, they described a little bit of it here. We got a little bit of a picture of it, but I wish I could sort of swipe through this and see more details. But transformable artifacts are unlocked as the season progresses. Only one variant can be created for each type. So that's where I'm kind of thinking all right, so it is limited how many you could have here. And then equipping an artifact variant, the commander will gain both its attribute buff and its artifact skill. Oh my god. What about the all damage? Damage taken reduction. But we can't swipe down, so maybe it says you don't get that. Maybe you do. We don't know what the while the clause says. And then creating an artifact variant costs prestige. This is what we were talking about a second ago. Some artifacts are subject to season limits and will be scrapped. Ooh. Kind of curious about what's going on there. We'll see. All in all, kind of hyped for the system. The details will matter. Also in this season, they've got alliance portals, which sound really cool. Anything that reduces walk time is a huge win, in my opinion. New behemoth, which is cool. But let's talk mages, baby. Let's talk mages. All right. Yun-Ming. He seems powerful. Why? Because his active skill isn't active. His first skill is actually a passive skill. When launching a normal attack, deal diffused magic damage to the target legion and a random nearby enemy legion, 2 or 3 in total. Now, it's very unclear to me what determines if it's 2 or 3. We'll talk about that in a second. I think it could be the expertise over here, the awakening skill. It's only damage factor 300, but this happens every 2 seconds. So you figure if a normal skill cycle is 10 seconds? You get this to trigger 5 times. So you're looking at 1500 damage factor, hitting 2 to 3 legions. This stacks up. I think this could be good. Now, in fairness, not very good against a single target. But I do love instant proc. This is basically like instant proc damage, which is really, really, really good because you will have done meaningful amounts of damage even if you turn around and run away before you would have used an active skill. So very interesting the way this works. While in the field, premonition targets 1 extra enemy legion. And this hero's legion has a 50% chance to gain a 10% defense boost for 4 seconds, stacking 3 times. So 30% defense. Defense is kind of a weird stat for a mage. It's definitely relevant, though. And the stacks are going to be relevant. We'll talk about that in a second. But I wonder if that's why it's 2 legions or if that's why it's 3 legions for premonition. Is the fact that this skill lets you target 1 extra enemy legion. I'm not sure, and we'll get there in a second here. But the next skill makes it so the legion deals 20% more hero skill damage and gains 15% hit points. That's nice. I have a suspicion maybe this doesn't modify the main skill. Like it does, but it's not already in the listing of the skill. We'll see. I'm not sure. This is the sort of thing that when you're doing the upgrades, it will be really obvious. But 20% hero skill damage is really good here. Again, the tanky stats are a little perplexing, but when combined with the hero skill damage, I think it's fine. And then premonition deals extra damage. It has a 50% chance to deal an extra instance of magic damage. Damage factor is 150 times the highest temporary buff stack. Max damage factor of 625. So we are really doing a ton of instant proc damage. This is going to be really good, but this particular skill can only trigger once every 5 seconds. All right. And then the awakening. While in battle, gain Diviner's Mark for 10 seconds every 30. So basically the battle starts and you gain Diviner's Mark. So your first 10 seconds, I think, will be given a little oomph, right? When Diviner's Mark is active, the Legion gains 15% magic attack. There's the punch I want in a mage, right? Premonition now targets 3 legions. I wonder if that's why it says 2 to 3. And if the second skill makes it go to 4? Is that what that is? It's not entirely clear to me, but either way, it is a lot of damage, I think. An Astrologer's Blessing and Inescapable Fate have 100% trigger chance. So now, at the start of the fight, you're going to get this instant proc damage. Boom, right away. It's going to be a lot of damage. And also, what is this trigger chance over here? The defense stacks. Gonna pop off real fast. You're going to get that defense rolling real quick. I think this hero seems really good in the open field, really good for big fights. This is what mages are for, is when lots of enemies are all clustered up. I don't know if this will work in a rally garrison context. I would have to look at the exact language a little more closely to say, like, gosh, does it say in the field? But I will say this. If it does work in a garrison, this is a lot of AoE damage. Right? Like, you could do a lot of damage to people trying to reinforce a rally if you put this guy in a garrison. Do all these skills work if he was in a garrison? Let's find out. It looks like that works. It looks like this works. It looks like this works. It looks like this works. I mean, this could actually be legit. This could be legit in a garrison, actually, unironically. Super legit. Gen 4 is going to slap, bro. Oh my god. Because then you've got Gromara. Not to be confused with Gamora, okay? So Gromara deals magic damage to the target legion, 2,000 damage factor. And you get 25% bonus to hero skill damage. Presumably not for this instance of skill damage, but for future instances of skill damage. And it's removed the next time the hero in the Legion casts a rage skill. This is a rage skill. But if Gromara was the only hero in the Legion that casts a rage skill, then presumably this buff, the first skill cycle, you'd gain the buff, but it wouldn't apply to the skill damage. But the next skill cycle, it would be active again and apply and then go away and reactivate. I don't know. We'll have to look in the logs, figure out what it's doing. Now, unfortunate, second skill, garrison skill. Problem with that is that, yeah, I mean, if you want to work on this hero for open field specifically, then you're going to need to unlock all the skills and roll the dice and, you know, max the first skill first and then hope that they don't land here. But what happens if they do land here? When garrisoning cities or strongholds, bastions is what we're really talking about, I guess passes. The Legion deals diffuse magic damage to 3 nearby enemy legions every 10 seconds. So 500 factor every 10 seconds. I mean, if you're hitting only 1 legion, this is pretty mid. If you're hitting 2 legions, we're talking about 1,000 damage factor, pretty decent. It doesn't, yeah, it is diffuse damage factor. Hitting more things does reduce the damage. If you hit 3 things with this bad boy, 1,500 damage factor every 10 seconds is decent. The problem is the cooldown. You can't like really pop off with this. But if you were getting multi-rally, like there's a lot of value there. This Legion gains 20% defense and ignores 20% of enemy defense. I will point out that this doesn't mention a troop type. So Gromara could be absolutely cracked for city defense because so far I don't see a troop type. The only thing that is a problem for city defense is that they care about magic units. So if you were using it for city defense, you'd really want to be League of Order. Otherwise, the majority of the units in your city aren't doing magic damage. Your normal attack damage would be really nice, but your skill damage would be really weak because that's based off of the quantity of relevant units, and physical damage dealers aren't going to count. That's kind of a complicated topic. Subscribe if you're interested in that kind of stuff. I've covered in the channel in the past. I already talked about this one. Let's go to the next one. This Legion deals 15% more hero skill damage. Dealing magic skill damage has a 50% chance to increase the Legion's magic attack by 5%, stacks 5 times. You get to 25% magic attack. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. And then finally, this is the Awakening. It is modifying the active skill. It's why that was hitting so god dang hard. So all that to say, is this enough anti-swarm to make mages viable in a garrison? In other words, my understanding is that the biggest issue with putting mages into a bastion is that they're just too swarmable. I think this might be fine. This might work. How would you counter this? I guess you'd need to use marksmen, but marksman rallies are pretty swarmable. So this could be the answer to the infantry rally. I mean, personally, from my perspective, I've always been very interested in a meta that has an ebb and flow, and like one thing counters something else. But in Call of Dragons, it's basically just been, like a call of infantry for bastioning, right? Rallies and garrisons. And I hope these mages mix that up. And it could be that the AoE damage, okay, coming from the first dude, combined with the single target insanity over here, is a proper balance of good single target damage, good AoE damage. You're not going to swarm this mage garrison. Mage meta, possibly inbound. Really interesting. And I do think these new mages seem very powerful. I've always felt that way about AoE damage and mages in general, and often I'm a little bit underwhelmed with their performance, which could be the way that I play. I don't know. We'll see. I generally feel like AoE damage is just so busted good. Now, from here, the artifact. This is giving magic attack and legion attack. They are showing an exemplar version, so I don't know if exemplar will be available right away. Really kind of wild if it was, though. And this is going to deal diffuse magic damage, 3,000 factor to 6 enemy legions in a designated circle. The fewer enemy units an enemy legion has remaining, the more damage is dealt, with a buff of up to, oh my god, 22%. When launching a normal attack, the wielder has a 50% chance to deal extra magic damage the next time it deals hero skill damage. Wow. Okay, 80 factor is not crazy though, but like, that seems like a really good passive effect. When launching a normal attack, the wielder has a 50% chance to deal extra magic damage the next time it deals hero skill damage. I mean, feels like you like definitely want to use the new heroes together and use Dragon's Fate and collect W's. The exemplar effect. Oh, so this is higher damage factor and number of targets than it would normally be, because this is the exemplar version, I think. I would assume that that's already an account in the portion up top. So, all right. Still seems like a really cool artifact. Now, the pet, what does this do? Deals magic damage to the target legion, determined by intelligence, and creates a molten field around the target for 3 seconds. The molten field deals magic damage every second to all enemies within it. Each time the legion deals magic skill damage via an innate skill, it gains a burning mark. Each stack of burning mark increases the next instance of war pet skill damage. The burning mark stacks up to 7 plus 0.02. So it stacks at least 7 times. This will scale up based on the talent skill getting ranked up a bunch, and is cleared the next time a war pet skill is cast. So each time a legion deals magic skill damage via an innate skill, you are going to want to use this. I mean, this feels like something that will be really good with the first mage, the fielder, that does AoE damage, rather than the garrison, right? That seems like it's the case. I almost wonder if, like, Shadow Baydrake is correct for garrisoning. I don't know. Whatever. I'm getting ahead of myself. Then Fire Cage. This is increasing the damage. One of these is going to be end of season. One of these is skills you buy, right? And then increase the effect of the burning mark gained via Fire Cage. All in all, I think the new heroes and artifact and pet combination looks really cool. Oh, and by the way, consider subscribing, because if you did, then you knew exactly what Fruit Finagle was going to be. I told you this was exactly what it was going to be in yesterday's video, and here we are. So consider subscribing. A part of the value I deliver is identifying the crossovers between Call of Dragons and Rise of Kingdoms, and developers for these games work together very closely, and here we are with basically the exact same event that we have in Rise of Kingdoms, which is a fun event and it is a good ad. So how does this generally work? Is that every day you're going to have a price. You can see today's price listed for your selling fruit. You'll get fruit by doing stuff. If it's like Rise of Kingdoms, you just collect it from your city and then you sell it. Now you can sell it at your own stall, or as you can see, the price tag has a link next to it, an indication that you can share it, which you can. You can link your stall to other people and then people can sell fruit at your stall. And there's a limited amount of fruit in Rise of Kingdoms that each vendor can sell from other players. So I could have the best price in the world, which would be, forget, like 500 probably, or 600, something like that. I think it's 500 per piece of fruit. But I'd be limited to like, I think it's 1,300-ish fruit that I can sell on behalf of other people. And if I sell the fruit for somebody else, or basically if somebody uses my link and, you know, sells fruit through my stand, then what happens is I get a cut. And there's going to be tiers of rewards for the prizes in this store. So once you sell enough of your fruit, you'll unlock a new tier of rewards, and then you sell more fruit and you unlock a higher tier of rewards, and you exchange for prizes using the currency. So the more currency you spend in the store, the higher tier of rewards become available, and you keep doing that till you get to the highest tier. There'll be something like nothing too crazy in these stores, guarantee. Nothing too crazy, but there'll be nice rewards. And it looks like you can steal, which is exactly what I said. You're going to basically look at other people's cities, and you're going to see probably, you know, this little character walking around with some fruit, and you'll tap them. If that player has not been doing a good job of selling their fruit, or they have an overflow of fruit, then you'll yoink some of it from them, which is pretty funny. This ends up being way more entertaining than you would think. Guarantee you. I mean, it's obviously like, you know, it's like it's a little monotonous as a task, like you're doing like the same thing over and over, but it's still funny. Every time you steal fruit from somebody, you're going to get the feeling of like, got them. You're just going to trust me on this. And it's going to be normal. You're going to steal from your alliance members, and it is what it is. In fact, you probably have to steal from your alliance members, which is hilarious. But everyone should be stealing from their alliance members. There's a limit to how much you can steal per day. All right? Subscribe. This is why you're here. The advanced intel. Boom, boom. Now, House of Destiny. What I think this is, but it's a little unclear to me. I don't know how this works. We have magic bottles. You complete lines to enter the next round, and it looks like completing a line gets you the prize from the line, but like how and why you choose the line or how this exactly works, I'm not totally sure. Clearing a level gives you rewards. Overall, it's like, okay, cool. Also, there's a lucky star tab. Do we get vision to that? Here's the lucky star tab. Complete 10 lines to enter the next round. 10. Whoa, that's like a fancy tab. So looks like there's going to be a couple currencies. You probably can buy these currencies, I would guess. Holiday event. Okay. I mean, I'm interested. We'll see kind of how exactly it works. This is a W. Custom prize pools for your gold keys. Absolute W. I'm kind of surprised. It's like, I thought we could get through Gen 2, but it looks like you can get more recent gens from gold keys. That's crazy. I'm going to have to understand that a little bit better, but this looks like a very generous and also obviously outstanding change to the way that gold keys work. Like, you could have an overflow progression system, which they do, and also you could just make the system more flexible. This is a W. I think this is really cool. Also, I misunderstood the way that mana pits and alliance resource centers were going to work. They last for a certain amount of time now, and you just go gather at them. This is a W. This is a huge W. For a busy alliance, this is better. For a not so busy alliance, this is worse. But I think for anyone who takes the game seriously, this is a W. This is in my opinion a win, because a really aggressively gathering alliance, which, you know, an active alliance is going to clear out a mana pit in what, like, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours? Less? I'm not keeping track of that. Anyways, you enjoyed the video, throw a like on it and subscribe. New mages look awesome. This update looks badass. I have a full video all about it from yesterday. Check the card in the end screen. You go watch that one. Dude, I think this update's a banger. I think it's actually really good. All right. Thank you again to Makers of the Game for sponsoring this video. I mentioned this yesterday, but like, I'm not afraid to be critical of patch notes if I feel critically about it, but I feel like this is a really good patch note, and this update looks really cool.